Welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off of the rainy shores of the Southern California. For me and Ryan's out there deep in the heart of Texas, out there, having some fun out there. So, a little Midwest, and then you got a little West Coast here for the Raider Nation here today. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, except it's 80 degrees in Texas and it's hot. So it's not exactly what I was expecting when I came out here.
Oh yeah, Texas. Texas is always on fire. Texas is always on fire as far as the heat goes. 858-299-5592 is a text line. Ryan, for those world famous breakdowns, our home. You should be able to, like, you have so many views on those. You should like, I'm thinking, can Twitter, can you see like where the views are coming from on Twitter, or no? Not like YouTube.
No.
And okay, like YouTube, yeah. So it kind of interesting to see where some of those views come from. But he has a lot of great breakdowns there as well. RCPW podcast is my Twitter handle, and then our HOLM22 is James's. New York, San Diego, Butte, Montana, Phoenix, Arizona, and Hartford, Connecticut are all listening and watching the Put on Waivers. I'm the Put on Raiders podcast. As always, it's never a dull moment in Raider Nation, but we're gonna start off the show really quickly with, I want to get some let's get some fan reaction here for the. Go share that screen. I'll have you read Alex's because it's the longest one, but I'll go first with the. These are some of our fans here. So Chewing Grounds podcast. Wow, I love the podcast. The topics were very interesting. I definitely stay tuned for the next. I'm glad I found it. Keep up the good work. I just uploaded a new podcast to my channel too. So hey, cool there. You want to go off? You want to go? Can you see Alex's?
Yeah, I can see Alex's. Alex said spot on about how Jacobs changed into a dancer instead of the smart power cut and go back who punishes. He just seems to not trust the line. I think ? Brady calls him very timely blitzes or Bradley. It should say Bradley called some very timely blitzes in the first half of the season, but he has gone cover 3 win for me. But a win is a win. Zay had issues tracking the ball again, but had many things set up for him, and they were going to force it to him clearly. And clearly if you watch the Browns, they double teamed Hunter Renfrow early and often.
Yes,
so he had to go to someone on the outside, and he decided to go to Zay Jones and Foster Moreau for the most part.
Yeah. I like how Pepe LeBiden said, checking if you guys read this, and you responded, yes, we do.
I just wrote check.
Yeah. That's funny. John Q, shades of Janikowski and Leckler all over again. But I don't want our kicker and punter to be our calling card. I'll second that. I'll second that one. And then also I have from Robert O. I would like to see Regis run the ball. What do you think? Great show. Keep up the work. Thank you guys for listening and all that good stuff, and also giving us that reaction to the show. But as far as Regis goes, I mean, why not at this point? I think that he is pretty. I guess Richard is pretty. I mean, he's pretty good when it comes to pass blocking. So, I mean, there was a ball there was a blitz where he just came right across the line and just stonewalled somebody. Like he's pretty impressive in that. So on third down, it's gonna be hard to get him off the field as far as that goes. But Regis getting some carries. I mean, to me, even before Regis gets some carries, I just want to see more Peyton Barber. I want to see a clear split in the carries between Peyton Barber and Josh Jacobs right now, because Peyton Barber is moving bodies and he just takes one cut and he just goes, and I love to see it.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, and I was hoping that they were almost on a split carry where it's 15 for each of them. Going into last week against Cleveland, of course, that was with the game being on Saturday with potential weather being an issue. But I think Regis is clearly fourth on the depth chart. No team's coming in to steal him off the practice squad at this point. They've had all year to do it. And each one of these guys has a role now. So clearly it's Jacobs is the starter, Peyton Barber's the backup, Jalen Richard's the third down back. I did find it interesting on the last drive of the game. It didn't hit me until I saw the film today. I didn't realize, at the time Jacobs was in for that whole drive. You would think in a 2-minute drill needing to go down the field and score that they would have had Richard in, but they didn't. And thinking back on that, Jacobs did have the drop on first down, but he did catch the ball for a 9-yard gain later in that drive. But
Yeah.
I just don't know where Regas is going to get carries in this offense, because they clearly still want to give the ball to Josh Jacobs. They still need to give it more to Peyton Barber, because like you said, it's one cut downhill, and then he's finishing runs. Like when he gets contact,
yes,
he's falling forward for 3 or 4 yards. Josh Jacobs' yards after contact this year is, I think, at 1.7, which is the lowest of his career. So he's not punishing guys. He's not driving through tacklers like he has in the past, where Peyton Barber is. And this offense just needs a guy to get what's blocked. If it's 4 or 5 yards, just get the 4 or 5 yards. Don't bounce. And Regas is a rookie. They're not going to throw him in there at this point in the year.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, cool. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll come right back, and we're going to talk about Rich Gannon versus Derek Carr. I'm not sure how this is taking place here on the Put On Raiders podcast. All right, back on the Put On Raiders podcast. Dwayne Douglas here, Ryan Holmes. Right below us is our Twitter handle, so check us out there. Got some good content there for you, and also Ryan has those breakdowns as well, so you want to make sure you don't miss those. I don't know, Raider Nation. I'm not sure what we always have something to fight about all the time. But this idea that I should get the exact tweet from Rich Gannon, but he did talk about everybody talked about all these different stats with quarterbacks, and for him it's just about wins. And I think that's the most important thing about the whole about sports period. You play to win, and that's all Rich Gannon cared about. And I'm not sure why people are trying to compare Derek Carr to Rich Gannon. There really isn't much comparison between the two, because when Rich Gannon became a Oakland Raider at that time, he didn't have the mega squad that Darren Carr liked to tweet out from Football Reference. He had lesser known parts, but they still put up 30 points a game, Ryan.
Yeah, I was around for that whole era. I'm in my early 40s, so I saw the whole Rich Gannon era with the Raiders. And to me, this isn't even a debate. Rich Gannon, as far as a Raiders quarterback, was a much better player, in my opinion, than Derek Carr. And we can talk about supporting cast. So I went back and looked at it today, and I don't know how many Raider fans were around then. And remember the first 2 years that Rich Gannon was there, the Raiders were top 8 in scoring all 4 of his years, and top 4 in 3 of the 4. But in 2000, before Jerry Rice came, they think he had Jerry Rice and Tim Brown for the whole 4 years. He didn't. In 2000, they averaged 29.9 points a game when the league was averaging about 20.7. So almost 10 points more than the league average. They were number 2 in scoring. They were 2 or 3. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that team wasn't full of Pro Bowlers. I mean, it was literally Lincoln Kennedy, and you had Barrett Robbins up front. But other than that, I mean, I don't know how many Raider fans remember James Jett. He was fast. He couldn't catch anything. He couldn't run routes. It was kind of just throw the deep ball once a game and hope he catches it. And Ricky Dudley couldn't catch a cold. Yeah. The first-round pick, the tight end they took out of Ohio State. So those are 2 starters that couldn't catch. And you had a 34-year-old Tim Brown, who was still a pretty good player, but was past his prime at that point. Yeah. And then you mix in Tyrone Wheatley, who was a cast-off from another team, and then Charlie Garner was a good third down back. Yeah, he's not an every down back. So the line was okay, and then Matt Stinchcomb was a first rounder that turned out to be a bust, and he's a rookie playing left tackle. So let's not act like Rich Gannon had 18 Pro Bowlers on the team on that offense, and dude was scoring 9-10 points above league average, and he had him in the top 4 3 of the 4 years. And by the time Jerry Rice got there, he was 39 and 40 years old. So we can look at all these stats, but it's a different era. They ran the ball a lot more. You weren't going as much 3 and 4 wide. You weren't trying to design plays down the field. Defenses could actually hit the quarterback. They could actually interrupt routes by wide receivers. Nowadays, you can't breathe on a receiver. You can't breathe on the quarterback. So we can throw all those stats out the window. And what matters at the end of the day is they won. Yeah, he had a better defense. I get that. But as far as a leader and a guy who went out there and held teammates accountable, this isn't even a conversation.
So a good friend of the program, Sean Oahu Raider tweeted out. I showed him a video that I think Deshaun Jackson tweeted out, and it shows him dancing around in the background, and then also you see I think you see Colton Miller, and you see the tight end as well, playing, obviously, like they had the joysticks in their hand and playing like PlayStation in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a common occurrence in NFL locker rooms. Like I really don't. We're not in locker rooms, so I'm not sure if that's a common thing. But I would say that one thing that Rich Gannon did the first time he was there was the first day he ripped all that stuff out of the locker room. He got rid of all the video games. He got rid of all the pool tables. He got rid of all that stuff. And he also made the comment that the guys who complained about it, they weren't there next year. So he took charge of that locker room and made sure it was all about business. And like I said, that could be a common thing in today. Things change now. They got DJs at practice now. So I'm not sure if that's a common occurrence in NFL locker rooms, but he took charge, and part of does he have the arm strength, the arm talent of Derek Carr? I don't think he does, but he did everything else. and talk about moving the ball. When the play breaks down, he was fantastic at that. I mean, he really was a next level scrambler to keep the chain moving, to keep the defense honest. And he spread the ball around a lot of different pieces. And stop acting like Tyrone Wheatley was Bo Jackson. Raider Nation, let's calm that down.
Yeah, and I don't think those people realize what kind of athlete, like you said, Rich Gannon, if I'm remembering correctly, there was teams that wanted him to play defensive back in the NFL. Like he could run. He was athletic. I think he went to, I can't remember if it was New England drafted him or if he went straight to Minnesota. Yeah. But there were teams that definitely wanted him as a defensive back in the NFL, and just scrambling, keeping plays alive, scrambling for 3 or 4 first downs a game, scoring touchdowns on the ground. Again, Derek Carr doesn't measure up in that category either.
Yeah, I don't know what we're. I mean, the last two high scoring. Last year the Raiders scored a lot of points. Jason Campbell and Hugh Jackson out of nowhere scored a whole lot of points, and then before that it was Rich Gannon and whether it's Callahan or Gruden. I mean, they scored a lot of points, and they didn't necessarily.
You overlooked the Aaron Brooks era.
Did they score a lot of points in there?
I don't think so.
I tell you, I was nice with Aaron Brooks and Madden, but I tell you that's about it. That's about it as far as that goes. Yeah, but all that stuff is crazy. I remember Rich Gannon, the game where I really felt there's always that one game where you think you have a really good team. Do you remember that game they played at the Colts when they got down huge in the first quarter? Then they came back and won that game against Peyton Manning. In the bar,
it was the Beaker game, right? Where Beaker got picked up on the. It was week 2, I want to say, and Beaker picked up on the signals at the line.
And then underrated player Greg Beaker, but I remember in a bar, they were getting smashed. The bartender saw me with my Raiders gear on, and he just gave me a drink on the house, and then they just started coming. They came back and not only came back and tied the game, they came back and won the game. So. I think they ended up winning that game 38-31. I don't remember if my memory serves me correctly, but listen, Derek is in the baseball term, he'll end up being. I know he's 16 wins away from passing Stabler or from being winningest Raider quarterback. But I mean that's what in baseball terms they call a compiler. As far as that goes, I'm really not gonna give him like. Like I said, the same folks who want to give them comeback victories don't want to give them any of the losses. So I don't understand that. I think another thing that Rich Gannon said that comeback. I think it's already said comeback victories are overrated. Say, what were you doing for 55 minutes of the game? Like, which is very fair. So as far as that goes, but I think it's pretty much as far as it could end the Rich Gannon stuff. And with Carr, I'm not sure if you have anything more to add to it, but I mean, I don't know why this is a war for Raider for some car fans to die on here.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to it's two different conversations. Is it are you want to look at the entirety of their careers and separate them and say, okay, who had the better career? Clearly, Rich Gannon wasn't a starter early on. He played behind Elvis Grbac, and then he was in Minnesota. He was a backup there. I don't know if it was during the Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon era there, but if we're talking just what they did as Raiders, it's not a comparison. Even though Rich Gannon only was for 4 years, he had much more success. Won an MVP, had his team up there, well over league average, exceeding league average and points by quite a margin. And Derek Carr is just a guy that hasn't consistently put up points his entire career.
Even when he had a fortress of an offensive line, even when he had Cooper and Crabtree, his red zone numbers were still not great. Still not great.
Can we compare Roland Williams, who was a tight end for Rich Gannon in a couple of those years, to Darren Waller? Do we want to have that conversation? But yeah, everyone just goes, he had two. They just want to say he had two Hall of Fame wide receivers, but Jerry Rice was 39 and then 40 in his 2 years with the Raiders, and Tim Brown was in his mid 30s. Let's not act like he had two guys in their primes at 24 and 25 years old running around going for 2,000 yards, because that's not what happened.
Yeah, not happening at all. Not surprising that we'll move on. Not surprising that that COVID hit the Raiders after playing a team that had a COVID outbreak. Kind of not surprising how that worked out for the silver and black here. So, who's eligible to come back? Who's definitely out as far as the COVID situation with the Raiders here?
Yeah, I would say the two players that went on today. That's Roderick Teamer, who was supposed to step in and start for Jonathan Abram, and then Jermaine Illuminor, who might have played this week, depending on the injury status of Brandon Parker, who missed practice. Those guys, I would think, are both going to be highly questionable. It's going to be hard for them to test back in. So I would think they're both going to be out. Nate Hobbs, I think, has a chance to play clearly because he didn't play on Monday. But again, that was Monday that he tested. So it's a 6 days where he's got to turn around. And then Brandon Faison, that one's going to be tough too. So I think out of all those guys, Hobbs is probably the most likely to play just because it's been, a couple more days. Yeah. But there's a good chance that they're not going to have Faison, Teamer, or Illuminor. We may have to fire up, the Dallin Levitt, Tyree Gillespie, Desmond Trufant, and see what those guys can do, which is not good when you have Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams coming into town.
And I do think this is like we talk about Abram a lot, right? Because he's such a controversial figure here for the Raiders sometimes. But with Abram, I kind of feel bad for these 2 weeks because these are Abram weeks, right? No question about it. You have the two-headed monster in Denver, and then you also have the best running back in football, if you will, out there with the Indianapolis Colts. How can they kind of fill in the role here, fill in the blanks here with Abram on the shelf here because as he has season-ending shoulder surgery.
Yeah, this one's going to be tough. Thankfully, it's Drew Lock coming to town, so I don't think the Broncos are going to drop back and throw the ball all over the yard. So I don't think coverage is going to be an issue. It's how do they make up for its loss in the running game. I could see, it's going to be tough because, part of you wants to move Deablo over into that strong safety position and put Littleton back on the field. I don't know if the Raiders are going to do that. They may just leave Deablo alone at that weak side position. They are getting Denzel Perryman back hopefully this week, so that should help. So, I mean, hopefully, Denver doesn't go to 11 personnel and then you can stay in base. And then another thought, I was talking to B.D. Williams about this from Tape Don't Lie today, and he mentioned maybe putting Nate Hobbs at strong safety and base defense if he clears, just as a way to get a better tackler on the field. That's actually a pretty good idea. I don't know how much of the defense he knows at that position. Yeah. I definitely don't want Dallin Levitt taking snaps in an 8-man box as a run force defender. And Tyree Gillespie, we just don't know. So the Raiders are up against it here. And they only have 2 other safeties on the roster, and they're both on the practice squad. So I think you might see a combination. If I'm the Raiders, I probably put Deablo at strong safety and base there and just put Deablo, Perryman, Littleton, and Wright on the field and just try to stop the run with those 4 guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough situation for the Raiders here as far as far as that goes. Because I mean, you're playing a team that just doesn't. I mean, we all know that team they're going to struggle to pass the football. You can't ignore the pass, but they're going to struggle to pass the football. But you have to do something with the run because the run is that's their bread and butter, and with the Broncos, especially with Bridgewater not playing. So that's gonna be a tough one there as far as that goes. But and it does stay for the Raiders as well because the Raiders have not taken care of a lot of different things, but they've taken care of COVID pretty much this year. Like until they pretty much played a team that got exposed. So we'll have to see what happens there. Divine Deablo is playing pretty good football as far as that goes. Good to see that some of these draft picks are coming in and contributing. Nate Hobbs has, and now we talked about Gillespie hopefully being able to do it, and Divine Diablo playing well as well.
Yeah, last week I thought he played well in the second half when he came back from injury. I think he missed the touchdown drive that Littleton got beat on a couple of times on the ground. But when he came back in the last 2 or 3 drives on run defense specifically, he wasn't afraid to attack downhill and put his shoulder into the lead blocker and then make the tackle. He did it on the last play of the game and forced that back in. Hankins was really good on that play too, and they both kind of combined to make that tackle and force the punt. He had another one when he took on a pulling tight end. It was Njoku in the B gap and just stonewalled him and made a stop. We'll see how he does in coverage. You can't really tell in this game how much he was challenged in coverage because they only threw for about 147 yards, and Nick Mullins didn't really work vertically much here, so it's kind of just check downs into the flat, some hook routes over the middle. But we'll see. Like you said, it's promising. With his size and speed, and if he's willing to put his head in there and take on blockers, because Corey Littleton for his speed and his coverage ability doesn't do that. He's not going to be a force in the run game. He's not taking on blockers. He's not getting off blocks. So Deablo is a clear upgrade there, in my opinion. But we'll see how he holds up in pass coverage because if Denver, and I expect them to go, 11 personnel a lot because Jerry Jeudy's back. You have Sutton, you have Patrick. I want to say there's another shifty guy there, Spencer, the punt returner that to get in there. Let's see how he holds up in coverage against those guys. And especially if they move him to strong safety this week, because you're asking a rookie to change positions. But overall, based on what we've seen from Divine Diablo over the last 3 or 4 games, it's promising moving forward. He's clearly a better player than Corey Littleton.
Right now, he is, no question about it, especially in his defense. The Raiders are on the hook for a lot of money with Corey Littleton as well, too. So you might as well just, nothing you got to find a role for him somehow, some way on this team. Every time I look at this, the skill position players for the Denver Broncos, I just pray to the good Lord that they don't get a quarterback one day. Because with Tim Patrick, with Jerry Jeudy, Kendall Hinton, Cortland Sutton, you mentioned the Deontay Spencer. I mean, they really have a lot of really good skill position players.
Tight ends.
And the tight ends can play. I mean, it's really. I mean, it must be pulling John Elway must be pulling his hair out. If he get if he got any decent kind of quarterback play, this team would be ridiculous. What are your thoughts about this? Well, so we're looking at obviously Drew Lock, who is you're gonna see the Raiders are gonna just do whatever they can to just stuff the run, not give up anything in the run game, and force them to pass the football. If you're the Broncos, do you just try to just run it as much as possible, or just try to get some semblance of a passing game and some kind of rhythm early, so the Raiders have to respect the passing game?
Yeah, clearly, if I'm the offensive coordinator of the Broncos, I'm going to try to establish the run. I'm going to run a lot of bootleg action too, and try to work those tight ends across the field. Drew Lock played at college at Missouri with Albert O. We'll call him. I can't pronounce his last name, but try to get the Raiders defense flowing, overcommit to the run, and try to get some stuff going out the back door. And then I'm taking shots down the field. Whoever's the cornerback, whether it's Robertson or whether it's Trufant, neither one of those guys has played much this year. So I'm lining up Sutton or Patrick or Jeudy on the outside. I'm going to take 2 shots a quarter because I don't want Drew Lock to have to read coverages and make decisions. I'm going to try to get one-on-one coverage on the outside. The Raiders are going to be in cover 3. So you're going to get one-on-one down the boundary, down the sideline. Just throw it up and see what you can do. That would be my game plan. I don't want Drew Lock stepping back, going through progressions. It's either bootleg, give him a quick outlet, maybe 2 levels, maybe 2 guys coming through, just, high-low read for him or deep balls. And I watched a lot of that Broncos game last week when Drew Lock went in. He's bad. He holds the ball way too long. It's going to be sacks galore. It's going to be turnovers. He might throw a couple passes that are wow throws. You're like, wow. And then he's going to show you some arm talent, but then he's just going to make some bonehead decisions. So maybe they call some screens. Just don't put Drew Lock in a position to have to do anything. And their defense is playing really well right now. And I don't think the Raiders are capable of putting up a ton of points on this defense anyways. So they're just going to manage Drew Lock to not lose this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only the only thing you can do in this situation, because they just he handcuffs you. If you're an offensive coordinator, Drew Lock handcuffs you. I mean, you're playing with one hand behind your back. Like, there's no other way to say it. And much talent as you have around Drew Lock, it's still gonna be a huge issue for them against the Raider defense, who has played pretty well in their building as far as that goes. When they're not playing the Chiefs, they play pretty good in that building, holding people on the 20 points or more. This could be a game where kind of like a Thursday night game tonight, where it might be 20-17 somebody because of all the injuries and all the stuff going on with COVID. As far as that goes, I kind of see the same game plan. I kind of feel like they're gonna throw a little bit in that first drive. I kind of feel like they're not gonna just come in and try to run. They're gonna try to get some passes, get some tight end stuff, get some stuff to Tim Patrick, trying to get all this, try to get something going there. Because if you feel the Raiders are just pin their ears back and go get the quarterback, they're gonna you could possibly be on your third string quarterback in this ball game as far as that goes. The Raiders now attacking this defense. Is this kind of a game where, like, you're gonna, without having that speedster on the outside, just saying to yourself, hey, let's be smart here. Take some shots once in a while with Jackson. If you have opportunities to check it down, maybe some long sustained drives here for the Raiders in this game, because quick strikes might not be available because no rugs in this game, or ever, for the Raiders against the Broncos again.
Yeah, I think Kenyon Drake was a key the first time they played, taking advantage of the linebackers, because the linebackers for Denver aren't very good in coverage. So clearly, missing him is going to hurt here. This could be a game where you see a lot more Jalen Richard for picking up blitzes, but also his ability to beat linebackers one-on-one in passing situations. And I don't think the Raiders, again, this is a week where they're not going to win outside. With the corners, with Fuller, Callahan, you have Darby. If Darby lines up outside, you go at Darby, but you don't really want to go at Surtain or those other guys. They have really good safety play. So the key here is establishing the run, keeping those pass rushers. I know Von Miller's gone, but they're still rushing the passer pretty well with Harris, with Chubb. Then you have Cooper, the rookie from Ohio State, there as well. Draymond Jones from Ohio State's there too. So the Raiders are going to have to run the ball. The good thing is I thought they ran the ball actually fairly well last week against Cleveland. I know they had some backups there, but for all the JV Browns talk that was going on in the media, and even we joked about it, their defense is still only missing 3 starters. Like, they had a majority of their starting defenders out there for that Raiders game. I think this is a game where it's going to be, ball control, check downs, some screens. I'd like to see Peyton Barber again get, at least 10 carries in this game. Is this a game where maybe we see, I think Renfro, it's going to be interesting. Are they going to man him up with one of those guys, or are they going to bracket him like teams have been doing with double coverage like the last couple of weeks? And then does Derek Carr trust anyone other than Zay Jones? Because it was clear last week when they doubled Renfro, it's where's Zay Jones? He wasn't really looking for anyone else unless it was an outlet to Foster Moreau. So again, with having said all that, I don't see a way the Raiders can go out there and put up a ton of points. I know they've had a lot of success against Denver over the last couple of years, scoring 30 points. I don't think this is going to be one of those weeks.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where, like, you're playing Drew Lock. You got to get. I mean, this can't be a game where you don't get a turnover. I mean, he just does it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have to be able to get a turnover here. against Drew Lock. You can't ignore the Drew Lock situation here and go ahead and take advantage of that opportunity because he is not a good quarterback. He's just not a good quarterback. The wide receiver from the Raiders, who is number 17, I always forget his name. They got the new
Tyron Johnson.
Tyron Johnson got some more, got some a little bit more burn last week. Can we expect Johnson to get some more opportunities here with the calf injury? Seems like it is bothering. It could be bothering him a lot. I mean, he's not getting the ball enough for us to see if he's bothering Deshaun Jackson enough. But thoughts about maybe getting him involved a little bit because if you do go deep or want to do something, want to do like a wide receiver screen to get that speed game going on the outside.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they should use him for 8 to 10 snaps this week. Kind of, when they have plays dialed up for shots down the field versus certain coverages, that they have Zay Jones running some corners and post routes. Now we need to just scratch that out of the playbook. If you're going to do that, put Johnson in, see if he can beat someone. Now I don't know if Derek Carr trusts him enough. There's enough rapport there for him to put it up there, but maybe he's an alert based on coverages and it's a one-on-one and you just give him a chance. But I'm done seeing Zay Jones run those routes. Keep Zay Jones underneath on some of those crossing the mesh routes. He's pretty good on a skinny post. For the interesting thing is when you watch the tape, like he's actually pretty explosive off the line of scrimmage. Like he gets off the line pretty quickly. He just gets the top end speed so quick. And then, he's not a true burner. So he's not going to win 20, 30 yards down the field. So, work him underneath when you have to, but definitely, get Johnson out there just see what you have. Cause there's no one else on this team that's going to take the top off the defense.
Yeah, totally. And then for Zay Jones, and you posted that dragon route that Brian Edwards had. So those kind of in-breaking routes kind of work for both for Zay Jones and Brian Edwards. Just run that. And then you can also and then getting let's say you hit, it doesn't take much because if you just hit one of those, then it changes how defenses have to play you. So the Raiders are going to take shots. You got to be smart when you take these shots because they have some really good safeties. Justin Simmons is phenomenal back there, so you got to be careful as far as that goes. But the Raiders, this has to be a game where, they get some turnovers, maybe early, and take advantage of this opportunity that you're paying. Take advantage of an opportunity to play a backup quarterback. They just don't take advantage of the opportunity to play a backup quarterback. They always end up maybe down in the fourth quarter against guys who are backups, and it's a problem. It's a big problem, and I think this is a game where Gus, dude, come on, cousin, you gotta. I'm not telling you to be Rex Ryan here, but you have to get some blitz packages going against this quarterback. He will make mistakes. He will make your defense look really good if you do so.
Yeah, and I think that's where you see Deablo, because I think, when Diablo's on the field, he does blitz a little bit more than he does when he's not on the field. So maybe, triggering or activating some blitzes out of Deablo, whether he's playing strong safety or weak side linebacker, and getting him coming. You saw Nixon from the slot come.
Yep.
It was effective last week on a couple of blitzes. I think that's an option too. And, back to your comment about Brian Edwards, we saw how you need to use Brian Edwards. That was a beautiful back shoulder throw. He went up, he beat Denzel Ward. He beat an all-pro. It's not like he's facing a backup corner. He high pointed the ball, showed strong hands. Then he runs the slant route, gets open, catches it. Now on the hitch route that he fumbled, he probably should have tucked that ball away and just gone down instead of fought for extra yards. But the stat line now says 3 catches for 8 yards. But I thought he played pretty well. He was open a couple of other times. And I just thought this is the game where we want the aggressive Derek Carr, throw the ball down the field. But I think there were some misses, the third and medium where he threw the slot fade to Deshaun Jackson, who was never open. He had Hunter Renfrow wide open coming across on a drag, shallow cross. That was the read. They were in single high. He knew he would have one-on-one on Jackson. I don't hate throw, because you're getting your speed guy one-on-one. He was just never open.
Yeah.
There was another route on the interception to Zay Jones against, quarters coverage, as Derek talked about. He had same thing against Washington. He had a wide open Deshaun Jackson coming across the field on the over route. At that point, Jackson had dropped a pass. It was a pretty good throw from Derek earlier in the game. He kind of just went away from him. Hunter Renfrow pulled the middle linebacker out of the coverage and the cover 4 there, which left the middle wide open. But he chose to take the shot to Zay. That one we can question. Greedy Williams was on top of him the whole time. Zay Jones was never open. And he just threw it up there, and Greedy Williams runs a lot faster than Zay Jones. I know a lot of people are like, why did Zay dive for that? Why did he do that? It's like, that was a bad throw. We need to get away from trying to make excuses for everything.
Yeah.
I thought, someone asked me on Twitter, I thought Derek played okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But he came through at the end when they needed him on a couple of clutch drives, especially after the holding call on Colton Miller, which was kind of a pretty weak call at any point in the game. But then you're calling that after a big completion late in the fourth quarter with under a minute left. I thought that was a bogus call. But at the end of the day, Derek still made the plays and got the ball to Zay Jones on the crossing route there. And the Raiders were able to get the field goal with the Daniel Carlson, who you see over my shoulder here, and then AJ Cole. I think both of those guys are going to be huge this week against Denver. Play the field position game with Drew Lock if you have to.
Yes.
Kick it back to him and see if he'll turn it over. Yeah. Now, if they're having a little bit of success on offense and Drew Lock is on point, which I don't know if he will be, then you may have to change up offensive game. And this might be the week where AJ Cole kicking at 55 yards isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely could be a AJ Cole and Daniel Carlson game. But on the slot fade, I agree with you on that play. I didn't have a problem with the throw and the decision to do that. Deshaun Jackson was literally getting held by the waist and by his. So it's like and the referee. I mean, the guy on the side is like watching this. He has hold of him. He has a hold of him at his lower waist and by his chest plate on the shoulder, on the right under the shoulder pad, and you're not gonna call that. Like, I mean, I'm not. It's just but they call the hold on Colton Miller. It's kind of ridiculous as far as that goes. So it's ridiculous. So we talk about FaceTime. I mean, now we don't love FaceTime, but we're gonna miss him this week if we don't get anything from him as far as that goes. Anything else on the game? Any picks you have for this game? As far as that goes, I'm gonna. What are your thoughts about this one?
This is gonna be a tougher game than most fans think. I still think the Raiders figure out how to win a game at home. They need to. It's Christmas.
What's the record? What's the record at home now? Like 2 something? Or?
Sure, it's not good. I don't know off the top of my head. I know they beat the Dolphins. They beat the Ravens at home. They lost to Washington.
Eagles. The Eagles. They got 3 wins. They got 3 wins.
They got 3 or 4 wins at home. Yeah. But I don't know how many opposing fans are going to be in that stadium the week of Christmas. I don't know how many are back in Colorado. I don't expect there to be a ton of Broncos fans. I don't know how well the Broncos travel, unless they bought these Christmas presents back when the schedule came out. But I think this is the week. Casey Hayward pick 6 to the house late in the fourth quarter. I think the defense is actually going to score this week. Whether it's a pick 6, I could see a punt return. I think the punt return, actually, the blocking was pretty good last week. Rich Versace actually did some stuff on punt return that he hasn't done all year. They doubled one of the gunners. At one point, they had a second level with 3 guys who ran down the field. So it's almost like they had 5 blockers setting up Hunter Renfrow at the catch point. He just dropped a couple of punts. I don't know if it was the wind or what was going on, but it was interesting. First time they've changed anything up on punt returns. So I think they have a chance to break a punt this week or score on defense. So I'm going to say the Raiders are going to find a way to win this game by a touchdown. I'm going to go 24-17.
17. 3 games in the dome for the Raiders here to end the season. I'm going to, after picking for the Raiders to lose the last couple of weeks, I'm going to go Raiders 20 to 14. 20-14. They'll win that game 20-14 and maybe 14-14, and then Carlson does his thing, hits a couple field goals. Of course, Drew Lock has the ball last to make it a pressure game for the Raiders, but they get a turnover, strip sack or something like that. As far as that goes, maybe Max Crosby ends the game. As far as that goes, I did say last week, and I forgot to put it in the rundown that I sent you. I did talk about the Caldwell and Byron Leftwich. Do you have like on top of your head, or do you want to just save that for another week? You think you can kind of
No, we can save that.
we can save it?
Yeah.
Say that for next week. We got plenty of time to talk about for the future coaches for the Raiders as far as that goes. I know Caldwell and Doug Peterson are becoming hot names now, as teams want stability and they want people who can teach these young quarterbacks how to play quarterback. And there's a interesting article I think BD Williams did put out the other day that said talked about Doug Williams how to build a championship quarterback room, which is pretty good read if you get a chance to see that. NFL picks around the league. What do you have for us as far as like those picks? I got mine ready to go. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, you could fire yours up. I'm going to bring up the spreads right now. I haven't had
Yeah,
a chance
cool.
to look at
So
it yet.
I absolutely I cannot love the Packers more. In this game, I know it's 7.5, but I just feel like it's just falling apart now for this team. I think for the Browns, I also feel like they're just going to be as talented as they are. I think they're just this is the Packers have become a buzzsaw. They've been a buzzsaw as far as that goes. So I'm going to go with the Packers. I know 7.5 is a lot, but I'm going with the Packers here to cover the 7.5. Hopefully this will go to 8, but we're with the 7.5 there as far as that goes. In a game that the Raiders actually need the opponent to come up and be big on Christmas. The Cardinals finally break the streak and they finally win the game to clinch a playoff berth with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. Cardinals are only favored by 1 point. I understand how hot the the Colts are, but I kind of feel like this is going to be very similar to the game tonight. You had a hot Niner team on the road going to face a good team. In the Tennessee Titans, I feel like the same thing's going to happen here, and I like the Cardinals to win that game. So all they got to do is win the game because basically by 1. So hopefully they win by game by a field goal, and you're pretty much good to go. Let's see here. And then Ravens at Bengals is my last one. I'm going to go pick the Ravens, oddly enough. I'm going to go ahead and go give the Ravens a chance here. I think they've been – this coaching staff and this team has been pretty good in this moment where they are playing without their stars all over the place, but they've just been playing hard all the time, and they're in every game. They're going for 2-point conversions, all that stuff like that. They are really trying to, kind of save their season here until Lamar Jackson can come back. I'm not sure if he'll be back this week, but I'm going to go with the Packers, the Cardinals, and the Ravens to win and cover this week.
Yeah, we're going to pick a couple of the same games here. I actually, you have Indianapolis traveling to Arizona. Currently it's a pick 'em. What I have in front of me.
Well,
I actually think
I'll take that over 1 any day of the week. I pick them.
Yeah, I got pick 'em right here for Caesar Sportsbook, but I actually think the Colts are going to win this game. I think they're playing really well. I like the coaching staff. I think Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in the league. I think that offensive line is going to win this game, and I just think Kyler Murray, that defense has the most takeaways in the league. I think they're going to get a turnover or 2 from Kyler Murray. So I'll take the Colts, who need this game. I'm going to go opposite of you too on the Baltimore-Cincinnati game. I know it's -3. I don't have the hook here or anything, and a field goal is a push, but I don't see how Baltimore can win this game. Cincinnati's at home. They beat them earlier this year. Their passing game is starting to click. Baltimore's missing a lot of defensive backs in this game. Joe Mixon's running the ball pretty well too. We don't know what the status of Lamar Jackson is, so I just have a hunch the Bengals are going to win that one. It's a pick 'em between Jacksonville and the Jets. I'm going to skip that, and you're a degenerate if you're betting on the Jets and the Jaguars. And then I'm going to go to New England. This game is for the division, basically. If Buffalo wins out, they win the division. If New England wins out, they win the division. So I think Buffalo is going to be upset. Sean McDermott's really upset about what happened in that game where Mac Jones threw 3 passes. I think the Bills are going to come in and they're fired up. It's 2.5 here, so it's basically a field goal game either way. I think Buffalo finds a way to go into New England, take hold of that division, and put themselves in the driver's seat down the stretch with 3 games to play. So I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills to circle the wagons this week and beat the New England Patriots.
Circle. Chris Berman. Chris Berman. Circle the
I'm on a
wagons.
roll here too. I think
Yeah.
it's 2 weeks in a row. I think I'm 6-0. I won the last 6 or 7. So hopefully the streak continues.
So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna look at. You mentioned an interesting battle there as far as that goes. So the Bills win this game. The division's over because they play the Falcons at home,
Yep.
and then they play the Jets at home. So it's over.
It's just for the division.
There's no question about it. And the Patriots play Jacksonville at home, which is going to be a win, but a game that they always lose. A game at Miami. They always lose that game at Miami almost every year. One of Tom Brady's places he always lost games was in Miami. So this game is no question about it for the division. Anything quickly on the playoff picture here? The Raiders are what, in 8th or 9th place as far as that goes?
9th or 10th.
Well,
this is
10th,
interesting.
yeah.
So they basically have the tiebreaker on the Ravens. They have the tiebreaker on the Browns. They have the tiebreaker on the Dolphins. Assuming they win out, they should have the tiebreaker on the Colts and the Chargers. So the issue is the teams right in front of them, they don't have the tiebreaker on. They're probably going to be Buffalo and whoever's in the 6th spot. I don't remember off the top of my head. And they would have the tiebreaker on the Steelers, but let's remember the Steelers tied the Fighting Dan Campbell's Lions. So if they would have lost that game, then the Raiders would have had the tiebreaker on them. But instead, Pittsburgh's ahead of them. So I think if the Raiders win out and get to 10-7, they have an 89% chance to make it. I'm going to go ahead and say if they do win out, they're going to make the playoffs. I just don't know if that's likely with what's on the horizon with the Colts coming. And one other interesting thing I think that we're going to see this week, I think one of the ways the Raiders are going to try to stop the run, I know you asked me this earlier, I think you're going to see Yannick Ngakoue kind of transition more into a designated pass rusher. Because if you noticed on the last drive against Cleveland Farrell was in a defensive end for all 3 of those plays. Ngakoue was not on the field when they needed to stop the run.
Yeah.
And he gave up contain quite a bit. So I could see Farrell and Nassib, if he's playing, getting a lot of snaps and early downs against Denver. And clearly they're going to have to do that against the Colts because you can't have Yannick Ngakoue out there against Quentin Nelson based on some of these stretch plays. So maybe we see a little bit more, and then Ngakoue might be able to pick up the pass rush a little bit.
Yeah.
So I do think Cleveland Farrell is going to get a chance to get some snaps the next 2 weeks.
And real quick on the Steelers because the whole all these teams are in the same. The Steelers play the Chiefs this week at home. No, on the road, but the Chiefs are not going to be the Chiefs. No Kelsey, no Tyreek Hill, all COVID. Likely they won't play. They play the Browns at home, and they play the Steelers on the road. So some up and down games there for them as well. They have not been a team that's been prolific offensively. So any game that they play is going to be a tough game for them, right? As far as that goes. So the Chiefs, I guess, so almost like, we'll see how we'll see what happens with the Chiefs in this game. Mahomes, if they get behind in this game, do they really, kind of extend Mahomes where as far as that goes? But they could. They're in a position, the Chiefs, where they are the number 1 seed. Probably want to keep that number 1 seed in the AFC as far as that goes. So we'll see what happens there. And then let's see the bubble. Yeah, that tie is gonna that tie is gonna kind of be the killer for the Raiders here. As far as that goes, but should be interesting to see.
Who's
what
the
happens
Steelers' last game against? They played Baltimore the last week
at Baltimore.
Yeah, so they're not winning out. Like I don't think they're
not
Kansas
winning out.
City,
So
Cleveland,
that's
and Baltimore.
The Raiders could win out. As inconsistent as the Raiders have been, they can win out. The game that's staring you in the face, saying that blocks that from you is playing the Colts. The Colts are just been monsters this year. So, and I do believe they had the most Pro Bowlers too, right? They had the most Pro Bowlers on their team.
I think that's like
7 as far as that goes. So they have that. So they've been pretty good as far as that goes. So 8-6 right now. Did you see before we go in parting? Did you see? So speaking of like people, making silly comments on Twitter. You see, I think it was Dan Orlovsky saying that is Matthew Stafford going to get any credit for winning or winning because he played with Cooper Kupp, and the push of Cooper Kupp and Calvin Johnson next to each other.
Yeah, I mean Calvin Johnson, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Calvin, a little bit Hall of Fame there. I don't know. I this whole like credit back and forth between what people play with and who played with so and so is just kind of crazy as far as that goes. All right, Raider Nation. The Raiders on Sunday. Enjoy your Christmas, all that good stuff like that. Ryan, to your family. Hope you have a festive Christmas and all that good stuff. Hope you get everything you want.
I just want to win.
I just want to win. I just want to keep us alive. I heard somebody texted me about some other Raider podcast. Like they're like ready to go to like the off season. I'm like, dude, like when they're we got plenty of time for the off season. When they're mathematically gone, then we can say off season. Off with the head with the quarterback, with the head coach or something like that. Let's just make the playoffs and see what happens. They're still alive for the playoffs, so let's take it from there.
And just keep hope alive for one more week before they go to Indianapolis. So,
dude,
it's a divisional game. Win the divisional game.
Win the divisional game.
That's all we're asking.
Yes, you got 2 more to go. All right, Ryan. Have a good night, man.
All right, take care.
Yeah.